We live in a culture obsessed with speed. Everywhere you look, there's a promise of faster results, easier paths, and secret formulas. Learn a language in 7 days. Make 6 figures in 30 days. Get fit in 10 minutes a day. We're constantly bombarded with the idea that there's a way to skip the grind, skip the sweat, skip the time. And because we're human, we're tempted to believe it. Why? Because shortcuts are seductive. They whisper to us that maybe, just maybe, we can outsmart the process. That we can bypass the struggle that others had to endure. That there's a key no one else knows about, and if we could just find it, everything would click into place instantly. But here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. The real shortcut is doing the work. And I don't mean doing it when you feel like it, or when it's convenient, or when you're in the mood. I mean doing it consistently when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when it feels like nothing is happening. Every person you admire, every overnight success you've ever seen got there because they put in more days than anyone noticed. From the outside, their success looks like a single leap, but from the inside, it was a staircase, built one step at a time over years, sometimes decades. We all want the results without the process, but the process is the part that changes you. Think about it as if there really were a magic shortcut. It would rob you of the lessons, the resilience, the skills, and the confidence that come only from showing up every day. The process isn't a punishment, it's the preparation. There's the story I love about a young musician who asked an older world-class pianist, "How do I get to where you are?" The pianist looked at him and said, "Practice." The young man laughed. "No, I mean really, what's the secret?" The pianist replied, "That is the secret." We laugh because it sounds too simple, but it's not. It's the kind of answer that's hard to accept because it means the responsibility is fully on us. And that's the thing. Most of us don't actually want a shortcut. We want an escape from responsibility. We want to skip the uncertainty, the mistakes, the moments where we doubt ourselves. We want to feel safe before we start. But safety doesn't exist at the beginning. Safety is built through action. If you look at history, the greatest innovators, leaders, and creators weren't people who stumbled on a hidden hack. They were people who put in relentless effort long after the excitement faded. They weren't faster because they found a loophole. They were faster because they didn't waste time looking for one. The dangerous thing about searching for shortcuts is that it delays the very thing that would get you where you want to go, the work. People will spend years reading about productivity instead of being productive. They'll buy every new course, app, or system hoping that this one will be the breakthrough. Yet they never actually commit to applying what they learn. It's like standing at the edge of a swimming pool, reading book after book on swimming technique, waiting for the perfect moment to jump in. Meanwhile, the people who just dove in, awkward strokes, bad form gasping for breath, are already halfway across the pool. By the time you've prepared enough to feel ready, they've lapped you 10 times. This is why doing the work is the shortcut. Not because it magically accelerates time, but because it removes the time you would have wasted searching for ways to avoid it. Every hour spent looking for an easier way is an hour you could have been getting better. Every day spent hesitating is a day someone else is stacking experience on top of yours. When you commit to the work, something powerful happens. You start to build momentum. And momentum is the closest thing to a real shortcut there is. At first it feels slow, even frustrating. You're pushing and pushing, and it seems like nothing's moving. But with each effort, each repetition, the resistance gets a little lighter. Then one day, you realize you're moving faster without even trying. But here's the kickers: you can't get to momentum without going through the slow part. That's why so many people quit before they see progress. They mistake the slow beginning for failure, when in reality, it's just the natural cost of entry. Think about planting a seed. You don't put it in the ground and expect a tree the next morning. You water it, you nurture it, you protect it from the elements. For weeks, sometimes months, nothing happens above the surface. And then one day, a tiny green sprout pushes through the soil. That sprout is your first visible result, but the real growth was happening underground the whole time. The work you're doing now, even if no one sees it, even if no one claps for it, is the root system of your future success. Skip the work and you skip the roots. And a tree without roots might grow quickly, but it will topple the moment the wind blows. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn from others or seek efficiency. By all means, learn from those who've gone before you. Avoid the mistakes that can be avoided, but never confuse learning from others with voiding the work. Advice is only valuable when it's acted upon. The real tragedy is that the search for shortcuts doesn't just waste time, it erodes confidence. Because deep down, you know you're avoiding the hard part. And every day you put it off, you reinforce the belief that maybe you're not capable. But here's the truth: you are capable. You just haven't given yourself the chance to prove it yet. And proving it doesn't come from reading one more book or watching one more tutorial. It comes from doing the thing imperfectly until you get better. That's the path. That's the shortcut. When you embrace the work, You stop needing to compare your journey to anyone else's. You stop obsessing over how fast someone else got there. You realize that speed is irrelevant if the destination is meaningless without the skills and the confidence you gain along the way. I've seen people transform their entire lives simply by deciding, I'm going to do the work no matter how long it takes. And the crazy thing, it almost always takes less time than they thought, because when you're no longer distracted by the hunt for an easier way, you can give your full attention to the actual thing that moves the needle. So maybe the question isn't, what's the shortcut? Maybe the better question is, what am I avoiding? Am I avoiding the discomfort of being a beginner? Am I avoiding the fear of failing publicly? Am I avoiding the discipline it takes to keep going when it's boring? If you can answer those questions honestly, you'll know exactly where to start. At the end of the day, there is no magic key, no hidden door, no fast lane that bypasses the road everyone else has to walk. There's just the work. And the people who look like they found the shortcut, they just started walking sooner and they didn't stop. And if you want to catch up, the fastest way isn't to sprint, it's to start walking now and keep walking every single day. Because the work you do today compounds. The work you do tomorrow stacks on top of that. And before you know it, you've built something that not only gets you where you want to go, but makes you the kind of person who can stay there. The shortcut isn't out there waiting to be found. You're already standing on it. It's called the work. And the moment you start, you've already taken the fastest route possible. We live in a world that gets bored very quickly. We're wired to seek novelty, to chase the next new thing, to feel that rush of starting something exciting. But here's the hidden truth most people never want to admit. Mastery doesn't live in excitement. It lives in repetition. Repetition is not glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's not the thing people post about to get applause. It's often boring, quiet, and invisible. And yet it's the single greatest lever for growth in any skill, craft, or pursuit. The reason repetition works is simple. The human brain is a pattern recognizing machine. Every time you repeat an action, whether it's swinging a golf club, delivering a sales pitch, playing an instrument, or writing code, you're literally wiring your brain to perform that task with more precision, more efficiency, and more confidence. At first, it's awkward. At first, you're clumsy. But the more you do it, the more it becomes automatic. And that automatic quality is what separates amateurs from professionals. The irony is that most people quit just before repetition starts to work. They start something, do it for a week, maybe a month, and when it still feels uncomfortable, they assume they're not good at it. They assume it's not for them. They don't realize that discomfort is the sign they're in the learning zone, the exact place where growth is happening. There's a saying that goes, repetition is the mother of skill. But I go further, it's also the mother of confidence, resilience, and trust. Because every time you repeat something, you're not just training your body or your mind, you're teaching yourself that you can show up, even when it's tedious, even when you're not in the mood. That trust in yourself is worth more than any talent you were born with. Think about a musician rehearsing for a concert. By the time they step on stage, they've played those songs hundreds, maybe thousands of times. The audience only hears it once, but the artist has lived inside those notes for months. They don't have to think about where their fingers go, their body knows. That's mastery. And it's built in the hours when no one is clapping. We often think mastery is about a breakthrough, a moment where suddenly everything clicks. And yes, there are moments like that, but those moments are not lightning strikes. They are the inevitable result of hundreds of hours of repetition, the way rain eventually fills a river. The breakthrough isn't magic, it's math. Repetition also reveals depth that shortcuts can't touch. The first time you do something, you're just trying to survive it. The second time, you notice a few things you could improve. The 10th time, you see patterns emerging. The 100th time, you can play with it, experiment, and add your own style. Mastery isn't just about being able to do something. It's about being able to do it well under any circumstance. And that comes only from doing it so many times that it becomes part of you. But here's the problem. Repetition is hard to stick within the early stages because the results are invisible. You don't notice how much better you've gotten until one day someone else points it out. They see the improvement long before you do. And that's where most people give up. They can't see the compounding effect of their effort. So they assume it's not working. I once heard a story about a potter who taught two groups of students. To the first group, he said, your grade will depend on how perfect your single best pot is. To the second group, he said, your grade will depend on how many pots you make. At the end of the term, the group that made the most pots also made the best pots. Why? Because while the first group obsessed over perfection and only practiced a little, the second group learned through repetition. Every pot was an experiment, a refinement, an improvement over the last. By the end, their skills had skyrocketed without them even realizing it. Repetition works the same way in life. The more you do something, the less energy you waste thinking about it, and the more you can focus on refining it. Your brain shifts from conscious effort to unconscious competence. And that shift is where real speed, precision, and creativity emerge. The most powerful thing about repetition is that it builds identity. At first, you're someone trying to do a thing. After enough repetitions, you become someone who does that thing. You're not just learning to run, you become a runner. You're not just learning to write, you become a writer. The action repeated enough reshapes how you see yourself. And once your identity shifts, consistency becomes easier because you're no longer forcing yourself to show up. You're simply being who you are. That's why the early grind is so critical. It's not just building skill, it's building the self-image that will carry you forward when motivation fades. Of course, repetition comes with a challenge: boredom. The human brain craves novelty, and repetition seems to kill it. But boredom isn't a sign that something's wrong, it's a sign that you're moving into mastery. Once the basics are automatic, you have the freedom to push boundaries, to innovate, to explore the edges of your skill. In fact, some of the most creative breakthroughs happen after the boredom stage, because that's when your brain starts looking for new ways to make the familiar more interesting. Repetition is also the great equalizer. You don't have to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most naturally talented. If you're willing to out-repeat the competition, you will win, because repetition compounds like interest. The longer you invest in it, the more exponential the returns. That's why a mediocre athlete who trains every day will eventually outperform a naturally gifted one who only practices when they feel like it. And here's the beauty of repetition: it doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't demand perfection. It just demands that you show up. Whether you're tired, uninspired, or frustrated, every repetition counts. Even the bad ones, especially the bad ones, because the bad reps teach you how to recover, how to adapt, and how to keep going when conditions aren't perfect. That's the kind of resilience that shortcuts can't give you. If you look at any master in any field, you'll see the same pattern.